It's live if it's 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're here every day. And I'm so honored today to have two wonderful people with me who I know really well and I can vouch for. They're all already pre vetted and qualified, and they both have wonderful stories that they want to share with you. And hopefully, that justifies the hour of empower, is really empowering people to be as much as they can, as fast as they can, and do as much good as they can. So, chat's open. That's where we take our direction from. So, whatever you want to talk about or whatever you're thinking about, and if you want some feedback or deal with things in the real time, real now with real people, Cindy told me I had permission to call her Cindy. Haven't seen her in a while, but it's great to see you. With that, let me introduce you first to Kofi because it's his first time and it's got a wonderful story. And actually, after we talked, he sent me this lovely book that he did. And I started reading it and was extremely empowered and inspired. So, uh, with that said, Kofi, why don't you share a little bit about who you are, your story, and how it might relate to commitment?
Thank you very much, Don. I really appreciate the opportunity and the kind words about Unbroken Optimist, my book. Um, my name is Kofi Duhaji. I was born in a beautiful little village in Togo, West Africa called Afanya, where I had fun growing up with my siblings. I'm one of nine. We studied at the candlelight growing up. And one key event that happened in my life that would set me on this trajectory was when I first saw an airplane from my little village. I had no idea what that was the first time I saw it. I've seen it. I think I was seven or so. And it just it blew my mind. And my dad happened to be right next to me, and I asked him, what is that? Is it a flying duck? Or I don't know what that is. uh, and he explained to me the concept of airplanes and all that, and then I got really excited, and I asked him, well, when can we get on one of those? And he said, son, that's not for us. And I just, I was so shocked that, and I thought to myself, why wouldn't it be for us? What do you mean by us? And he said, son, we can barely afford food, and that's just not something we can afford. We can't even, and he recommended that I forget about it, that I don't get my hopes too high. It just didn't sit well with me. And I'm so thankful that we've had that conversation that day, because it gave me such a drive and fueled my dream to just be able to be successful enough so I can get on an airplane. That was the goal. So I think, as Scott McGregor would say often, adversity is a gift. Adversity is a gift. And tying that back to commitment, I think commitment is not just saying or telling people I'm gonna do something. I think it's a lot more deeper and profound than that. And commitment actually involves three key elements. You have intention, you have action, and then you have perseverance, right? You want to have that intent, I want to do something, but it's not enough yet to be a commitment. For me, I want to go to school. I want to get a degree so I can get a job, so I can save money, so I can afford buying a plane ticket and get on that thing that's zooming through the air. But it's not a commitment yet. That's just an intent. And then transitioning from that intent, you start taking actions, and those actions are not going to take you a straight line to your goal. So that's where perseverance comes into play. And then you have to keep taking actions, revising, reframing, learning, growing, and then repeating those actions, failing, and picking yourself up, using people around, not relying on people around you to help you get to what you want. So it's going to be this reframing from your original intent, and then taking actions over and over again and keeping it consistent and persevering through time until one day you're not only flying on airplanes, but you might be lucky like I was to be flying them. So uh, that's what I think commitment is, those three key elements.
Well, that's so interesting. And now you're an
Mm-hmm.
officer in the Air Force.
Yes,
So what do
I'm
you?
an officer in the Air Force. I am an intelligence officer. I don't fly for the Air Force, but I do fly for fun.
Okay, well, that's great. It's just amazing how inspirational or adverse words can drive people to their higher heights, and they
Yeah.
can really follow back to that as the reason why they're doing things. So
Yeah.
before I ask Rita what's new with her today, the response has been overwhelming already. Just to hello, thank you so much. And you know what's so great about having multiple people on this show is they bring multiple circles of influence with them, right? And now everybody can make a bigger circle by combining everybody's circle. And I think that's where people need to share, promote, reach out. I mean, this is a wealth of individuals with even a bigger treasure chest of experiences, wisdom, and a desire to help. So, anyways, with that, let's keep running through. Aaron, good morning. Thank you for being here. Cindy, probably laughing at my Cynthia joke. I said Cynthia. Uh, Okay, must be a friend of Kofi. Sorry. Hello, Don, Kofi, and Rita. Happy Sunday. Grateful to be here and hear some incredible stories. Now is your time to shine, Kofi. And I met Kofi just this week, and I said, well, that's a story that needs to be told. Chris is rooting Kofi on. Good day, great to be here. Gokul says, greetings everyone from India. So this is
Oh,
really affecting people internationally. Okay. I believe MD has been here before. Welcome back. Lillian's here. Lillian's just a regular, great lady. If you don't know her, you're missing some wonderful connection on LinkedIn. Paul, love the story of the airplane, Kofi. The only material thing I want in life is a private jet, and being able to maximize is since it's our greatest gift. Matt's here. Matt's really been in a lot of places, been seeing him high visibility. Hello, all. Hello, Rita Wirtz, my dear friend, and Donald Cohen. You are the miracle. Dean is just, such a wonderful
Dean.
character. I love his potato and just his presence really helps the environment, just a real
Yeah.
positive gentleman. Lillian Howard, hello, my friend. You are the miracle. Leslie's here. Leslie's going to be here this week, I believe, Wednesday
Mm.
morning. Where does crystal clear purpose fit in? Would it be first above all? That's a good question we'll follow up on. Lillian, Matt, Alan, hello. Matt's back to Dean, mirroring. Well, evening here. This is a great place to see people you always see and want to see more of. Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. Andrea is here. She'll be back Tuesday. Good morning, Day. Nice seeing you. Cindy says, what a wonderful story. I think there's a reason I got on today. What is the book? It's called Unbroken Optimist. I just started reading it, and it was really, I heard the airplane story. And, why not support people who support you? And that creates that sharing, that passing it forward instead of waiting for strangers. Reach out to the people who are right across from you. Leslie Flowers is glad to be seen by Lillian. Freeman Beals is here. Kofi and Rita, two amazing people. Well, always takes one to know one.
Freeman.
Uh, my dear friend, and that's what this show is for, is to make the differential between the audience and what's on the screen seamless, right? And the only difference should be is someone seeing someone and someone has to read someone. But, being part of the circle is more important than to be above the circle. Great meeting. Huge fan of Kofi. And that's why we bring so many wonderful, interesting people here, because there are fans who want to see them appear. Here today to hear you three today, a wealth of information. Dennis is another great guy. Excellent views, nothing more than positive thoughts in life. God bless Kofi, proud of you. See, that's really cool when people are in your corner, really rooting for you. I love it. We may not even be able to talk again. Greetings to all you family from Germany. Here we go from Chris Smith, listening while in the gym with my Duco apparel on. Has a song called Outlier, one of my favorite songs I listen to daily. I mean,
thank you.
Lillian Howard, morning. I met Kofi after being stuck overnight at O'Hare. Awesome experience.
Oh, he's
CW. Okay.
CW.
Wow.
Yeah.
Back to CW. I forget where we're. Proud of you, brother. Ola's. Andrea says, good evening, Miracle Matt. And we caught up. So, wow. Rita, what do you have to add to what we're seeing and hearing?
Nothing. It was perfect. Let me my earbuds. When you talk about huge word for me and what drew me back to join you again today, because it is the most important thing there is to me. Purpose. You talked about purpose. Everything starts with our purpose. We all have a purpose. We all have a why. We know that and we accept that, or we should. This is where we give credence to everything good that everybody does, because we want to focus on the positive, not the negative, especially now we're in a defining moment. So if we look at purpose and we look at passion, we look at tenacity, that's what will drive everything we do. But commitment has always been a big deal to me all the way through. The way I was raised, it was a little different. I wasn't in a small village, but back in the day when I was raised, women didn't get to do things that they get to do today, even with all the changes going on. I wanted to be a school superintendent. And at that time, there were only 5% of women that were school superintendents. It was almost impossible unless you knew somebody to get into it. But I made a commitment that really wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was what I did to help teachers and kids. And so after being a principal, I became a founder and started my own business, Paradigms and Promises, without a contract, with nothing. In my life, I have found that there is a commitment to what we do for bringing in money or compensation for our effort. We make a commitment to what we're doing, and hopefully we can stay with a commitment. So there's always a question in my mind, once person has made that commitment, what if things change that absolutely take you out, that you can no longer do it? That's always been an issue for me, to make a decision. Was my commitment just so much shooting over the hoop that it wasn't ever going to get in the hoop? It was just going to throw to the wayside or go in the gutter, bowling alley. So when I look at commitment in the work area, I've always attempted to make sure what I took on I could do. If I made a promise, I needed to keep it. And that has caused me issues in my life because I overcommit. So while we talk about commitment and making sure we do what we commit, we also have to think about a bit of a box, because if we overcommit, then we're not doing ourselves a favor, and we're certainly not being fair to those that are waiting for what we're producing as our content. There's also commitment in personal relationships. So I got really lucky. My late husband and I were like this till the last breath for about 38 years. But I had made a commitment that no matter what happened, that I would take care of him. And so I did for a very long time. So commitment can be this big and it can be this big. So when I see someone take on a huge project, which is what I do all the time, I'm always multitasking. And we always thought that we could do it. So, in other words, I could make a commitment to write another book right now, write another book chapter that's due, a blog I promised, of this I promised, of this, and that's too much. So, I would like us to think not only of the part that it's imperative we make commitments in our life to give us a structure, to give us a goal, to help our vision that's out here become smaller and smaller and smaller in little pieces because our mission statements bring it down and bring it down and bring it down until we can honor our commitment. So that would be my thought about this. We have commitments in work, we have commitments in our daily life to friends, to family, to others, and we also have commitments to ourselves to not over commit and to be able to have a boundary where we can say, I'd love to help you, but I really can't right now. And I think that's something that we don't talk about. We talk about failing, which drives me crazy because I don't believe there's anything such thing as failure. There's only feedback. But we don't talk about the commitment factor. And I think it's imperative. And that's why I wanted to gladly join today when asked, because this is one of my biggest words. Always has been. I've made a lot of commitments in my life, and I would say I've kept about 99.999% of them. Always the issue is what commitment can you make, what commitment should you make, and then not overcommitting.
Yeah, well, I think that says so much. And what I
Yeah,
realize is every word by itself is powerful, but how it's used in words around it make it more comprehensive. So when we're talking about commitment, we're also talking about balance, right?
yes,
How do you
yes,
balance commitments? And here's another thing I'm seeing: since everything is moving to just in time, kind of pay for
right.
performance,
Yeah, yeah.
you don't have to do those long ball commitments. You don't have to say,
Yeah,
I'm going to do this for a year. You could say, I'm going to do this for a day, and then
yeah,
adjust. And then you're not over committed, but you're flexibly committed and responsively committed, where you're responding to what you're seeing, what you're feeling, you're readjusting all the time.
that's right. That's
Right.
right.
And the hardest thing, because I used to do turnarounds and restructurings, was always dealing with fixed people or fixed overhead, right? If you
Right.
didn't have any payroll and you didn't have any rent, you could go anywhere, do anything, and change so much faster because people tend to bring legacy into the future with them. And that
That's right.
also applies to old commitments that have already been taken care
Right.
of. You continue to carry that with you after you've already paid for it at the expense of
Mhm.
something that could have been more beneficial. So with that, I'll turn it over to Kofi, but we should acknowledge Nicole is going to be actually here for the first time next Saturday. She's got an incredible story, and that's why this is getting to be the story hour of Empower, where it wasn't, it was just the hour of Empower, because at a story level, everybody's
Right.
story is valuable, everybody's story is important, everybody's story needs and should be heard, because everybody's story is a picture of their life and the way they want to project it and communicate it. And I think once people get heard and finally seen for who they are and what they are today, instead of where they were, what they did, what they're doing, and I think to Kofi's comment, without action, there's nothing. There's just a pent
Right.
up amount of energy, maybe a pent up amount of intelligence, But without application, it's like planting a tree and never coming back to pick the fruit, right? And just plant another tree. So we got Matt here, got a colorful background there. Knows Andrea. Everybody knows Andrea. Song Outlier 2, love from Auntie Sarah in New Zealand. Trevor's here. Trevor's got a wonderful show, and I learned so much from Trevor. And I'm looking to have Trevor back on the call. We've got, we all have a purpose. Absolutely. Yes. Matt is all get ready for Rita Words of Wisdom. You know, it's nice to have fans with fans. Kofi, thanks for being awesome. Best wishes for you and everything. Matt is Trevor. Everybody knows each other. And Dr. Joanne is here. She did a just outstanding show yesterday. You know, and what I really want to convey is the people who support this show will be supported by this show, right? If you're here for people, we should be here for you, you know? And there's always a saying that when you're down, you need the meetings. When you're up, the meetings need you. And we're here for Leslie says, answering my question, thank you. Nothing works without a clear purpose. It's the spiritual seed that keeps us motivated. Matt is Dr. Joanne White. Good morning. Know each other. Paul's incredible. If it wasn't for Paul, I wouldn't have met Kofi. You know, and I think the highest honor you can do for anybody is introduce them to somebody you really care about, so they both can get value. I mean, nobody should be in the witness protection plan here on LinkedIn. You know, you don't want to be the best kept secret. Cindy says, coffee, I just had my daughter look for your book at Walmart. It's out of stock. Must be a wonderful book. Let's see what this one says. Kofi, okay, we just saw that. Keep up the good work, bro. Leslie comes. Imagine if we're all in our word. Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? The word that described well Kofi is Miracle Boy. We are very proud of him, and we pray God to protect him. Well, that's so lovely. Lillian's here to say, Leslie, so true. Things will be different. Leslie's back with make the commitments you will keep. Dennis is responding, agree, commit to commitment. I have a tattoo that says failure is feedback. Wow, it's spreading. Rita, Ruth, Andrea comes back with nice hearing about your experience, Rita, committed to ourselves. Dr. Joanne, yes, we need to honor our commitments for sure. Right. Leslie, harder for women than men to take things off our plate. Agree. A rhyme just in time is a charm. Thank you, Dennis, for your levity. Would you say overcommitting is the same as overpleasing? Probably. Ooh. Well, you can cover that when it's your turn. How's that, Rita? I would for sure. Also, commitment should be a journey to a destination. Always remember on a trip you can have many small destinations on the route to the final destination. Right. And even when you get there, you can set a new destination, just like we set destinations. Right. There's a new person. Hello, nice to watch. It's nice to have everyone. This should actually be a 2-hour show. Yes, for our commitment needs to be kept. Yeah. Lillian, Matt, okay, is powerful. Paul comes back. A key thing I found for me with commitment is that connecting the to you, to your goals. The fear and excuses for me disappeared when I did that. Leslie, Paul, not family. Cindy, hi, Andrea. Hi, everyone. Wouldn't be able to stay longer. My battery is 15%. Ambon is just one of the most wonderful people on LinkedIn. I would definitely reach out to her and get to know her. Unbroken Optimist, the Outlier. Thank you. That's the name of the book. So go out and buy it. This is so beautiful, Kofi. Your country and family friends can now see your journey. Your Facebook community is strong. Lillian, Ambombola, hello, my dear sis. Leslie's back with journey is the task, arrival is the goal. Cindy, hello, Ambombola and Trevor. Omar M. Omar's a great guy. Just caught up. Kofi, what do you have to say now that you've seen all this wonderful
I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude, Don. It's
Yeah.
such a beautiful thing to be seen. You know, there's this saying in the Zulu culture that
Mm,
says "Sawubona," which means "I see you, I exist for you," right? I see
right.
you, you see me, and I think we exist the minute that we acknowledge each other. And I'm thankful that the community is so supportive and so giving at the same time. Going back to commitment, I think in my upcoming book, I talk about commitment as being the process of transformation from a passive existence to an active, passionate, and purposeful life. And as Rita said, you can't really do that if you don't have harmony. Imagine your life as a piece of music and only the guitar is shouting the whole time. You know, it's gonna get quickly boring. But when at times the guitar takes the leads and then steps back and the voice comes in and the piano does its thing and then the triangle comes in, all that at a balanced level and harmony that produces the enjoyable musical experience that we have. So it's the same thing as commitment. When you overcommit to a very specific thing, then as the saying goes, anything when it's you step into the abuse of it over that line, it becomes
Mm,
something that is not helpful but harmful. So it's important to keep it balanced. There's no competition between one part of your life and the others, but it has to be balanced in a way that each action you're taking and each commitment you're making is creating that harmony that brings a fulfilling and meaningful life in general.
Yeah, that's great. Gosh, I could listen to
that's
this all
cool.
day. I'm so grateful and honored to have the opportunity to learn and share with so many other people because that's what keeps us all relevant, right? It's not major things that you build on, it's little things that compound every day. And if
Exactly.
you get a little smarter in many different ways based on what your needs are of the day, it might be you want to reach out, make some connections. It might be you want to share something that you know is extremely valuable because people appreciate it. People like to have a little bit of a roadmap or like to talk to somebody who's already taken the journey a few times and say, hey, I'm about to do something. Do you have some advice? Because if you ask for help, you'll be so surprised how many people will help you. But the key is you have to ask in the right way and you need to deserve what you're asking for, and if you work hard enough, people see it, and that's what people should really do is work on themselves, work on their commitment to themselves first, right? If you can't honor your
That's
own
right.
commitment to you, why
That's
would you
right.
start making commitments to other people?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it just get it right first and then take it out to other people. And if you don't know, find the people who do and support them somehow to justify them supporting you. Everything in life is reciprocal over the long term. If you're transactional, you can get a lot of stuff and not have to deal with it anymore. But it means every day you got to go out and find new stuff. If you can build on rock instead of sand, and it's the relationships because people want to do
Right.
business, want to make friends with people they like and care about, right? Because that's what makes their life worthwhile. If everybody's part of everybody else's mosaic, right? And you continue finding ways to put more
Mhm.
wonderful pieces together to make the whole thing. And I think to Kofi's point, in a lot of ways, I look at what I do as being an orchestra conductor, and who can I find that can play the best, but also play with the best, right? And just like in music, you got people who are just soloists because that's all they want to do and that's all they care to do. And then you got people that start bringing people together. And in this day and age with this technology, You can have different circles by the week, right? Depending on what you need. If you look at a football team, every play is a play. And it's based on circumstances, and it's based on who's going to get the ball, who's going to do what. And I think the beauty of what we can do together is so much better if you do it by plan instead of by accident, right? If you meet on purpose with purpose versus, oh, I saw you, let's talk. That's if what I learned about business, and I'll turn it over to Rita next, is everything comes down to time and cost efficiencies, right? And the cost could be money, it could be, taking something from something and redistributing it. But if you can get yourself real efficient, like Kofi did with figuring it out, I do so much and I got it down to 40 minutes, but it's all set, right? And it works. And that's all that matters. If it keeps working and keeps working better, why change it? Work with it, not work at it. And with that said, Rita, what do you think about this interchange of ideas and how it's starting to impact maybe people's definition of commitment? And maybe it gives them a reason to reevaluate their commitment. What's your thoughts?
That's my thought. Let me go back. When I was a school principal, I had made a lot of commitments to what I was going to do there. But that's not how it works. We really need to model everything. We need to walk the talk before we talk the walk. So when I made the commitment of what I was going to do to help these kids at that school in particular, they didn't share my commitment at the beginning. But I also don't believe that people buy into things. I have an issue with saying, if we do this enough, we'll get our little cluster and then it'll spread because we bought in. People need to have a reason to change. The only one who likes change is a wet baby. So if we see that we have a purpose and a need and a way to get there, then we'll see some growth and transformation in ourselves. But if you look at teachers, we're all teachers. Everybody's a teacher right now because we're teaching every minute of the day by whether we're smiling at people, whether we're being kind, or whether we're doing something for others. The commitments that we make are critically important, but what commitments should we be making and who should those commitments go to? So if I'm using up all my energy with commitments that I made at work, commitments that I made to my friends, then what's going to happen to the commitments that I've made to myself and to my projects? If I start on a project, then all of a sudden somebody else asked me to do something else. I already had a commitment to the project that I was working on, and someone's already waiting for that. So there's got to be a clarity where we're going, or any road will take us there. And again, who are we making the commitment to? Is that commitment a viable commitment that we could even follow up with and then reflect? Did we do it? Where are we now? And that's where my friend Carol Barcelona came in and said, call it reflection. We reflect on what we've done, and then there's action. And in teaching, that transferring of information has to happen. There has to be something that kids can do with what they're learning. It has to be their own learning. In other words, they have to make a commitment to even pay attention to what's going on with their teachers in school. So there's commitments being made right now by kids who hadn't been in school a long time. There's commitments being made by teachers who are overwhelmed with all the changes. Commitments are being made by parents every day, and they're figuring out how to get their kids where they need to go and how to be good to one another. So when we look at commitment, it's just one little long word there, commitment, 3 syllables, but it takes in the whole world. It's about our commitment to how we act in public, how we act to strangers, our commitment to making a better world, to working with our climate, to working with the issues around us in our own community. Mother Teresa said that don't worry about helping everybody, start with the person right next to you. And I think that's where it is. I happen to have been born on Martin Luther King's birthday, Dr. King. And I always felt that that's what gave me a strong social conscience. And that's why I made the commitments to do all the community work that I did over the years, to work with the children that nobody else really thought could learn. And during the time that my husband was ill, I also taught 30 children that were all at the bottom 1% or in big trouble. So those kids came to our historic house and property, and I taught them like crazy. And the commitments paid off. I watched these kids start to thrive. So commitments for me have been varied and humongous, but it's just I've had a long life. I've had a purpose-filled life. And I've always said, I will keep doing this until my last breath, because there's always somebody that needs help. And then I also have learned to ask for help. And this has been a big thing for me, because while I made commitments that were big up here, I had to get help sometimes to be able to manage what I bit off. It was harder to chew it than it was to pick out that veggie and get it all cut up for my dinner. So we do need to ask people for help to make our commitments happen. It can't just be us. It does take a village. And so I like to throw that out to the group too. How do other people, and those people that are joining today, how do you ask other people to help you make that commitment? Because vertical leadership doesn't work well anymore. I've been there, I've done it. It's horizontal, shared leadership. And so whatever commitments that we've made, if we do have the circle that Don's talking about, or Jason Wilson, the circle of friends, these circles, or whatever you want to call it, are critically important, because we're not in the middle. This is not me. It's about we. It's not my school. It's our school. It's not my teachers. It's our teachers. But those commitments cannot just be coming from me as the leader. It has to be shared. And then people will say, well, I can't do all that, but I could commit to this. And if that person commits to that one thing, that's already going to make a huge difference. The little steps, always baby steps. When you get at that rung of the ladder, instead of trying to jump up the top and do an Indiana Jones, we need to go piece by piece. And constantly, as Venus and Serena Williams taught us, that you make new goals, and then you constantly reassess where you are on those goals. And then you recommit to what parts you can do. And if there's a part that you're not going to be able to pull off, you need to let go. And that for me has been the hardest thing, because once, and I don't like that word hard, let me take that out. That goes with struggling. The most challenging thing in my life in the recent years of being a widow, has been to move forward, not keep looking in the rearview mirror, but what we used from the past will help us right now and in the future. And because the future is now, and in the last couple of months, AI has already changed our future, that we need to make those commitments, and we need to make them together so that they can happen. I don't want to do it all by myself anymore. I've been doing that for years and years and years. Now I'm asking for help for things, and I couldn't do it before. It's a growth area for me, that I don't know everything, which I've already known, but that I need help. So commitment, you want to make it alone, or do you want to do it with others?
Well, I think, what I've learned is start with who you are, where you are with what you have,
That's
and
right.
just work with that to make it a little better. Too many people look at where they are and look at where they want to be, and it's so far and it looks so expensive that just the view is frightening. I mean, no different if you
Right.
look over an edge that's pretty deep. It could be very frightening. And if you don't have enough, find somebody who has what you need and you have what they need, and then you partner, right? If both people are
That's right.
going nowhere with 50%, why not share 100 and get to working with people? And,
Right.
don't overthink. don't over
Right.
anticipate, don't over plan, and feel good when it doesn't work out. And as soon as you can respond, get right on the better path.
That's right.
And reach out to people, because the last thing you want to do is sit by yourself alone, looking at the ceiling and questioning, what do I do next, after you just asked yourself that question 100 times already just now, versus get out.
That's
I mean, even walking is better than sitting, right? And,
right.
and you can walk somewhere, and wherever you go is probably better than where you just left. And you can find someone. And even if you find somebody, like you said,
Right.
to share a smile,
Mhm.
right? To offer a stick of gum to someone when you open up your pack, right? Whoever's next to you.
Right.
Things like that make a difference, because at the end of the day, you can say, what did I accomplish?
Mhm.
Well, I smiled 3 times, made 2 people happy. I took a walk, felt better for it. And all of a sudden, little things start to become
That's right.
important to you. And then you can say to yourself, because it's all plan, do,
Mhm.
review, what am I going to do tomorrow?
That's right.
Right.
That's
And if you
right.
say, I'm going to do twice what I did today, and you check it off your list, now you're starting to be successful at something, even if it's something that you engineered, and it gives you a little confidence. But when you're with somebody, and sometimes people are their own worst enemies, people will
That's
tell
right.
you, you don't see what you have. You don't see the people that care about you. You don't see what you've
Right.
already done. What are you playing those bad movies in your mind for, when you have so many good ones in your library? And it's about choices, and commitment is choices.
That's
And
right.
I think
That's
what
right.
comes clearly out from Kofi and from Rita, if you start with a good heart, with the best
That's
intention,
right.
you can
That's
only
right.
do good, right? And that's what they say about money. It makes good people better and bad people worse. You know, it's not the thing, it's who's got the thing and how do they want to apply it. And the other thing about commitment, it has to go with integrity, right? It has to go with
Right.
trust, because a commitment
Right.
talk, uh, made by someone you can't trust is not a strong
That's
commitment,
right.
right?
That's right.
So, Kobe,
Right.
what do you think about this commitment conversation?
This is very, very interesting. And uh, I love how we as human beings, when our species, when we come together and start
That's
talking
right.
about the same thing, you start putting some missing pieces in your own
Mhm.
puzzle from someone else's
Mm.
puzzle. And something Rita said about uh, asking for help and then thinking we, right? Uh,
Mhm.
always talk to my coaching client to look at it from this perspective. We are building a
Right.
huge bridge for
Right.
humanity, and
Right.
everyone is bringing that bridge. Look at it as a puzzle. Everyone is bringing a unique piece that
Right.
is needed to fill the gap in the bridge. Now, your ambition is the missing piece for someone to make the next step, to get maybe to
Ah.
the place they need to put their piece. And
Wow.
someone else's commitment is going to
Right.
create a platform for me to be able to step to where I need to put my piece for
Right.
someone else to move on. So
Right.
it's important to keep it in that mindset. We have this very interesting exercise in the military. When I was going through training, we got
Yeah.
put into this very hostile environment as teams and individuals to do something, and we
Right.
kept failing, we kept doing horrible until we started talking to each other. Hey, you over
Right.
there, what are you doing over there? How can I support the thing you're building there, or the fight you're fighting there? How can it help me here? Would you like me to orient my fight in a very specific way to support you? Or how can we move together so we can meet somewhere and work together instead of working separately and individually? And once we made that mindset shift,
Yeah.
everything changed. everything that was
Mhm.
designed into the exercise to work against us was no longer effective, because when we come together, all the missing pieces come together and build a bigger purpose, a bigger plan
That's right.
to move on. For me, for
Right.
example, yeah, the purpose was for me to get on an airplane, but that
Mm.
then evolved into me designing my purpose in a way that little Kofi now in the village growing up can have a representation in the society to build his confidence up
Right.
when he's dreaming about achieving something, and he sees something that someone that looks like him or her, they
Yes.
can now build a path all the way to that person, and realize, oh, actually, there's no disconnect here. This individual comes from the same village I'm coming from. So you bring your piece back to the community
Right.
so that you can put it where there's a gap, and someone else might be
Right.
able to step upon it to get to their next step. So I think it's such a beautiful thing when we come together and build reshape our purposes to be part of the community and the bigger plan.
Yeah, I think that's so
Yeah.
important,
Yeah.
and
Right.
it's not
Right.
hard to comprehend. It's not hard
Right.
to put to use, because if people are welcoming and
Yeah.
open, and you know what I learned from Rita and from Kofi, if there's anybody out there who has a really inspiring story, something people could learn from, grow with, and get value from, reach out to me. I do this 7 days a week, every day, right? And I enjoy having multiple guests. So this is everybody's opportunity, because what I was just thinking when everybody was talking, to me, regular LinkedIn is a mob with 900 million people who are leaving information, dropping things off, picking things up. It's not real time. Sometimes it's not even real. But if you can go off to the lifeboat, right, and bring all the
Right.
people with you, the best thing about the lifeboat is not getting on it as much as helping other people after you get on it, right? There's just too much
Right.
room here to hold it to yourself. And you know what? There's not enough
Right.
you to do it anyways, because you're just going to slide down once you need, and there is
Yeah.
nobody. Everything you do, if you did it for yourself, you're alone. You might be taller, you might be higher than you were, but you're not strong,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
holding you up. So with that, let's Nicole's here. More hands make lighter work. Lillian
Right.
says, Matt Allen, that's awesome. Christine, who's just a wonderful lady and all kinds of things in her life. Agree with Kofi, even with data analytics, AI, chat, GPT, human interpretation still matters. Digital plus human can save the world. Well, that's why they say if you can marry high tech with high touch, now you've got,
Right.
or old school with new LinkedIn cool. I used to say, hello, Christine. I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, Christine's been busy, I suppose. Dr. Joanne, together is the way to shift our world with a beautiful community of
Yes.
support, Kofi. Um,
Right.
Kudos to the community. And I think
Yeah.
is so close to commitment. It starts with the first three letters at least, and it intersects with it so much, because your commitment to your community is a bigger commitment than you could have for yourself. And when you
Right.
get in something bigger than yourself, you don't worry about yourself as much. You don't think about yourself so much because you're too busy getting the benefit of helping others. And, it's not a one-way street, even when you do it. When you can help a hungry person feel fed, and more importantly, be known
Right.
as a person, as a person who has their own story and maybe never had the chance, or worse off, when they did have the chance, they encountered challenge instead of support, right? Which
Right.
bottled them up even more, and then reaffirmed
Right.
their thoughts, which may be self-limiting. So Kofi, what's your thoughts? Are you next, Rita, or Kofi?
He's
Co-
gone.
Rita, Rita.
Rita is next.
Well,
Okay, I want to try and
well, I
go.
just want to mention that I too of my many books, this is probably my favorite stories from a teacher's heart. It's all about stories. I have fun stories because of some of the commitments I made. So I'll just end my little piece with some fun stuff, because I could talk about the realistic pieces of commitment all day, again, because of a lot of life experience. I've been so inspired by my new friends here, and that's what we do. We inspire each other. So I'm going to tell you just a quick couple little stories. One was that I decided to go teach at preschool a few years ago under a literacy grant. I'd been a preschool principal, but I started in high school, so this was challenging. So anyway, when I made the commitment to do this, I wasn't thinking that I might get hit in the eye with a ball from a kid. I wasn't thinking when I made the commitment I'd have a trike roll over my foot, or that I'd get pink eye, or all these other things that happen learning how to teach preschool. I was supposed to be an expert, and it was like starting all over for myself. But some of the beauty that happened because I made that commitment were like kids coming up to me, "Did you bring seaweed salad today, Rita?" Or, "What's that in your pocket? Do you have an eyeball in your pocket?" And because I made the commitment to do something that was so out of my wheelhouse at that time, my friends were like, "Why in the world would you do that?" And I said, "Because I'm really concerned that in all the years having done penal work, all those years working with teachers in prisons, and then being a principal, and then teaching every grade that there was, and meeting people all over the country, this was all really great. But the biggest commitments that I made were really those that were uh, going to be bigger than myself, and it really took a lot of prayer and belief that the higher power was going to help me pull off what I had taken on. But the stories that happen along the way, the story of the little guy I taught that ended up working as a rocket scientist for Mr. Musk. And there's other kids that I worked with that people thought couldn't learn anything, and they ended up graduating from UC and doing, high level university work. Because we make a commitment for something that's bigger than we are, that will drive our purpose. And our passion has to be along with that. And the tenacity, not to give up, to never give up. And that there is no such thing as failure. But always to remember that those that we are wanting to come along with us, riding in the weird lane, or riding in the risk taker lane and the trailblazer lane, that we need to support those that come along with us for that ride, that they're equal to us, they're actually better than us because they know things that we don't know. Bill Nye said that we learn something from every single person that we meet. And if you look at some of the greatest motivational speakers of all time, the greatest preachers, the greatest rabbis, reverends, they all had a commitment. And they're able to not only share that commitment, but lift us up. We talk about it, but it's real. And when we know that we get much more than what we give, it changes our thinking that it's a good thing to do, and that we are servant leaders, and it's not about me. The higher you get with accolades or being famous, that has to bring you down to the lowest bow in humility. And so while you make the commitments, we need to remember that the best commitment would be one where everybody else got to do it. We worked behind the scenes, we made it happen, but we don't need it. We don't need the accolades. We don't need anybody praising us. There is a self gratitude that has to kick in. And then I don't get it. I like a pit bull if I've made a commitment. I'm never going to let that not happen. But getting there is half the fun. And I regard everything as play. We have to have humor in everything that we do. And the stories that we all have do need to be shared because we are one people. We are one collective people, and right now we have to come together for the good of the order. And that's it.
Well,
And I'll double down on that.
that's a lot of it. And you know, hopefully people can, it's like a buffet. People can go to different areas, you know, fill up what they're hungry for, what they need, or what they just enjoy, you know, and that's where every day you fill your plate based on what you should want on your plate and what it can do for you, you know. And I think people, that's why I just love the idea of minimalism. If you can get by with less, you can be happy with less. And then anything more is gravy, right? But if people
Right.
want to become something that is going to take a long time and is going to take a lot of whatever they have, that's pretty challenging again. But you know, if
Right.
you can come back to where you are and just look at what's around you, a coffee cup, someone made that for you, you know, this computer screen, right? It didn't just
Right.
appear. Someone had to do something to get it to you.
Right.
And I think if you, again, if you're into the we instead of the me, and the me is so boring to yourself and to everybody else too. So it's really not even like cleaning up before you go outside. You know, it's almost
I
like,
did. I did. I did. I did. No, we did.
well,
We accomplished it.
and that's what's so important about telling stories is people would better, they're more comfortable learning from somebody else's experience than someone telling them or even teaching them what they should do, because that's already an assumption that has no foundation yet. It's summary, it's superficial, you know. And if people want to live a richer life, they got to achieve a deeper presence, you know, because they've got roots, they've got to have some foundation. With that, I will introduce Tundi's here. Haven't seen him in a while. Comments from Madam Rita, sharing your spirit of not giving up. Thank you. Uh, we've got another great show, Don. Glad the community got to meet Coffee. Well, Coffee wouldn't have met the community if you didn't share Coffee with me. And everybody else seeing this, and this will be seen by a tremendous amount of people now, but importantly, we'll be touching people we'll never ever know who they were or meet, because this is everybody's legacy on this show, right? If anybody wants to know somebody, isn't, you know, wouldn't you love to know a family member 30, 40 years ago who had a show like this, who had codes, whether it was a grandfather or an uncle, and you could see them as relevant as they were sharing. I mean, that's what we're building here. No one knows the strength of this. This has been out like a year to the public, and hardly anybody's using it, you know, and no one knows what it can do. But I know the audience we're getting, you couldn't get any way or any other, you know, if we weren't doing this. We're going to find 70, 80, 100 good people who take an hour off on a Sunday, right? And be with people they hardly know, because they've made a commitment to learning from others, to watching others. And there's so many wonderful shows like this. If you see the people on the right-hand column or on the actually on the screen, they're definite winners. They really are. And I'm not just saying, I got to know them. And the stuff they're doing is worth following. So in a sense, I guess to tie my side of commitment up, commit to the people that are in your circle that will support you. You know, they're your tailwind. If you want to talk about aviation, you want a headwind every time you go out and fly a plane. And I think that's the same thing in life, is when you're rooting for people, you're building goodwill. When you're giving first, you're making deposits, you're making investments, because you're doing it first, right? You're the one who's got something to give, and you're depending on some trust down the road. Or maybe you do it so that someone will now trust you. You know, you can't put something in a jar unless you open the top, you know? And I think that's so important. So, Kofi, what's your thoughts now? It's almost towards the end.
Wow,
Well,
flew, didn't it?
Yeah, I didn't see the time fly by, but something that I'm going to share that ties back to what you just said, that you have to make the investment first, which brings me back to disagree with what you and Rita said about the I. I don't think we should despise the I, because if the I doesn't have anything to offer, then
Sure.
even the biggest will to be part of the we is not going to be beneficial for the
Right.
we. So it is
Right.
knowing the value and the power of the I without losing sight of the fact that it's just a piece of the we,
Yes.
and keeping in mind that you can't pour from an empty cup. And at the
Right.
same time, the cup that serves water gets wet without even trying. So uh,
Right.
it's so important to keep all that in mind. And again, going back to this concept of harmony and balance, that the right amount of the
Right.
I, the right attention and energy on the I would enable you to give your best to the we.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That
So,
was beautiful.
Rita, what's your final thoughts and words to this wonderful
I,
audience?
I couldn't say anything better than what Cody just said. Uh, the notion of commitment is one that we will be talking about for a long time, the same way as our session we did on legacy. Because if you're thinking about what your legacy was or what you're leaving for others, and again, that might be, we said it could be something of a material, it could be the emotional divesting of all that you had done in your life and everybody that you have. And legacy is also what we left behind for others to be able to move forward with, which is what Don has been doing with us with this show. To see a grassroots show like this, where so many people come that are like minded, or we have differing opinions and we're learning from others and learning to be respectful of others, it, it, there's more to commitment than what we even began to talk about in this hour. And yet, what I heard so validated and expanded my own thinking, where I think I am on this, that it was really a beautiful experience for me as well. And I don't know everything. I'm learning every day from everybody else. So each one teach one, each one reach one, but a reminder that we are all teachers, and our children have had such disruption and such trauma that it's imperative as a collective people that we do make a commitment that we will keep helping make a better, more loving world, and helping those kids that have been given labels, who are very gifted, when we think about how we're going to go to bring forth a richness in the educational experience. So when I talk about teaching or leadership, this is for all of us. This is not just about being a teacher in a schoolhouse. Right now, we have a lot of children in our country and around the world who need to see us make a commitment to model excellence for them and to offer opportunities so that their giftedness can come out. And that would be my final comment, is that it's all about the children. When all is said and done, I can relate every single thing about commitment to making a better world for our children.
Well, the children are the future. And, part of passing things along is passing things down, right? So
That's
it's
right.
not just in a
That's right.
circle, but it's people coming up,
Yeah.
that need that helping hand. And that's where I see the hope, is by peer to peer, person next to person, helping each other. And if not
That's right.
with things, at least with thoughts. I mean, today, no
That's
one
right.
came here thinking about commitment like they're going to leave here today, right? They got a full portion
Right.
and many different
Right.
ways to look at it. And people are, we planted these seeds, and it
Right.
might take a week, like Kofi said. He had somebody got in touch with 3 months ago, and
Right.
they showed up. You know, I've been doing this full time on LinkedIn for 3 years, and sometimes it took 2 years for them to come back. And, you know, when someone doesn't come back, it's not a reflection on you. You know, and that's the other thing about making commitment. Make it about it and not you. Focus on what it is you're trying to achieve. So when someone
Right.
criticizes or tells you you're wrong, you know, you're not it, right? And you don't want
Right.
to be it because,
That
again,
is so
there's
true.
not you, and it's no fun. I've been to the top, and you don't want to be there alone. You don't want
No.
to have a team that helps get you to being a winner, and they're somewhere that's never been recognized.
Mhm.
And after you've been recognized and you've been to the top, you start thinking, I'm having more fun getting people to the top and watching
That's
them
right.
their joyful life. You know, and when people get belief, and that's the underlying foundation
That's
to
right.
commit, how much do you believe?
Right.
You know, and I've gotten to the point, and that's who I am. I'm a whatever it takes guy. You know, my commitment when I said
That's
this is
right.
I got to do it. And there's times when I got to do things I don't want to do, I don't like doing. I actually have had a choice wouldn't do, but it's essential to move to that next level. It's essential to let go, to grab on, you know. I mean, that's really the key. If you look at those acrobats, the whole key is catching before they fall, right? Letting go is
You
easy.
know,
Go ahead,
right
Rita.
now we're planting gardens. Right now, people are planting gardens, especially with all this weird weather, at least here in the rain. So I wanted to jump on that comment before I forgot when we talked about the planting of the seeds again, both of you did. We're planting seeds for gardens of the heart.
Well, that's so true. And we're
Yeah.
helping cultivate that. So it's not like here's a bunch of seeds, we'll see you later. Hey, here's some seeds. We'll come back in a day or two, see how it's taken root,
Yeah.
right? Maybe share some
Beautiful,
information
yeah.
on the person a month ago who did the same thing you're doing, because everybody loves that concept. If they can do it, I can do it, right? And I think that's what Kofi was
Mhm.
saying, is being the model to say, it doesn't matter where you come from. It's really where you're
Right.
going. And the
Yeah.
past should never define somebody's future, and nobody in the world should define that person but that person. That's
Yeah.
everybody's individual right. That's the only thing you have total control over. When people focus on others, they're focusing on things they don't have the equipment to fix.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they're neglecting the maintenance they deserve. And here's
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
thing about commitment is you got to celebrate along the way. You got to have fun along the way. If that's not part of the
That's for
commitment,
sure.
right? And if it's a little thing, I mean, and
Right.
you schedule it. It's hard for people to do that. But if you say
Yeah.
Wednesday at 4:15, I'm going to get the best looking cupcake I can, put a candle on it, and say something nice to myself, and blow it out, and then enjoy it, right? I mean, it take you 10 minutes. But if every day you had a highlight like that, I mean, because I remember as a kid, no matter, somebody would always have a treat if I was feeling bad, right? If you had a hard day at school, or something wasn't right, somebody would, hey, let's get a glass of milk, let's get a couple cookies. All of a sudden, your life got a little bit better,
Yeah.
right? Because of the cookies, because of the milk, but more importantly, someone identified something in you might not have seen or even asked for milk and cookies, but they knew right away that's what it would take to make you happy. And I'm saying you got to be that person to yourself. People you only lose because you don't bring them to you again. You don't bring them back, right? And things my grandmother does,
Mhm.
I still follow what she does, and the way she. So in essence, you know, they say you come into the world with nothing, the worst you can do is break even, right? And when you can bring people with you, you never really lose them completely, you know? And when you plant seeds of their wisdom, now it even extends their legacy. So when you're doing it from the big picture and you're doing it for the best reasons, people will see
Right.
that. you know, and they will come to your assistance.
Right.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times
Right.
I saw nothing in front of me, you know, and people would always say, well, why don't you just quit if you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel? And I would always say, I don't see the end of the tunnel yet, right?
Right.
And I always felt that if you buy a ticket, you should see the whole show just to make sure how it ends, you know? And I think that's important. So with that said, I can't thank Rita and Kofi enough. I think what they demonstrated how who wonderful people with wonderful stories can light up an audience, can make them feel a little bit more wonderful about themselves, to know there's a place every day that they can go to and see the same people who are here for the same reason is for each other. And for each other then fortifies everybody. You know, if you see a fire and you see 40 firemen fighting it, it's only because of 40 firemen fighting it that the fire goes out. And if everybody does their little share, look at how much good it can do. And I think we need to take our world back, but also help the whole world. Say, don't wait for anybody. Help yourself. And once you're helping yourself, help the next person. And if everybody took that position and then actually had a network that has tens of thousands of connections to some people and broadcast this, because what's good for you is good for people like you. And when did you ever feel, hey, that person gave me such great advice that now I can shortcut what it was going to take, or it's going to make it easier for me. And then the next is, who else can I share this with who's in my same situation? And it costs me nothing, right? The gift that gets regifted. So anyways, I know we have that ability to talk forever. With that, I want to say goodbye to everybody. Thank everybody. This makes my day so, so worthwhile to start with a family of choice and also a family that chooses you, right? So everything is reciprocal to that point. So with that, come back in 23 hours. We'll have another great show. Exactly who it is tomorrow. Actually, it's Gretchen Skelka, and Andrea's coming back on Tuesday. And it just gets better, and we've got some really great new people next week. So thank you very much. Enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you, Don.
Thank you very much, Dan. Thank you, Rita. Nice to meet you. Thank you,
Oh, it was
everyone.